I have a thought, based upon this end time stuff, and, no, I don't want to record it.
Okay.
Okay. I just feel like we went full circle. I'm talking about our nation, our scientists, our intellectuals. We went full circle, and we want to become gods and live eternally without having the Lord's anointing and blessing on our life.
Well, did you watch the Super Bowl?
No,
Watch halftime show? No.
no,
You watch the GMA awards?
no.
Or not GMA, what do they call it?
Grammys.
The Grammy Awards?
Grammy's country music, isn't it?
No, the Grammys is everything.
Yeah, the other one's CMA Awards, Country Music Awards. But anyway, at the Grammy Awards, I got on my phone before it even started. I think it was from whatever station was sponsoring it. It says, "Be sure and tune in for a religious experience, a great religious experience." And what did they do? They had a satanic thing,
Oh my God.
on there, and in the middle of the
Halftime,
Super Bowl,
Yeah.
they had what's her name?
Ishtar.
Rihanna.
Yeah, Rihanna come down there in all red, and all that was supposed to be
Oh.
Ritualistic dancing and everything. I don't know, but that's what they were declaring.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other one, the Grammy Awards, they said it was out and out tribute to Satan. So there you go. God's making everything be revealed. Everything's being revealed. We're knowing now how far we're into this that we don't even realize how far we're into this. But anyway, those sheets that I gave you, the
Grab your mic, please.
the sheets that I gave you, where it says lesson 1, 2, and 3, those are the lesson pages.
What I'm giving you now is listen to me.
On the rest of them, those are your quizzes that you have to do and turn them in and be graded.
Uh-oh.
Now, what do you think about that?
Now, where's that cheat sheet at?
Hopefully, she did not photograph that answer sheet.
I don't think I did.
But this man actually repeats, and builds on top of and on top of, and I mean, it's wonderful. I'm not kidding you. You let me know when we get done with these first 3 lessons if you don't think that this is easier and a lot better. Okay? Anyway, of course, everybody knows I've been ill, and I'm not complaining about it, and I'm not asking for sympathy or nothing like that. I ask God to show me what do I need to learn from
Mic on.
this.
Is that mic on, Brent?
Testing, testing. Is it on? It says lost
I
signal.
don't have anything.
This the side I'm supposed to print, or this side?
Yeah, I just.
This
don't have
side
video.
is the
I don't have video.
the
Keep going.
review sheet.
Okay, so I'm supposed to have this side
Yeah, you can do that, and this other side,
and that.
and this. Yes, but
Okay.
you can't do,
Okay,
you can do a
That-
lot of things, but you can't.
that one I got right, this one I got wrong.
See, I did it right in here because I made sure that I didn't copy it, on both sides of the page. Yeah,
I'm gonna stop this.
okay.
I don't have any video.
He's got a lost signal, so we're gonna wait for a minute for him before we get started. But what I was saying is when you ask God a question, if you don't want the answer, don't ask. Okay? I knew this for a long time. I've been talking about it, but been putting it off, been listening to Jim and them talk about it and everything. But God showed me because when I found out what it was that I had, and it's caused by inflammation, they said inflammation is an epidemic right now. He was even telling me about some people that he's following that him and his 26-year-old daughter has both the same problems, and it's attacking your joints.
This page of.
You know, it's getting to where it's destroying your body.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
To the answers.
And the big thing that he told me, and I thought, I've only had one virus this year, and I've only had one vaccine.
Yeah, the back page.
Because he said, well, I've got triggered by a virus.
No,
I said, okay, you just don't want to say what virus it is. That's the only thing I can figure out, but anyway, we're not gonna go into that.
You have inflammation in the joints?
I have inflammation in my body that's attacking everything.
Did I give you the other one yet?
It's not, my joints aren't destroyed yet,
Yeah.
but it's hitting my muscles, and all that
This
Or if you run across this doctor at,
in Missouri,
whereabouts?
over in Cape Girardeau. My doctor sent me over there to him.
What's his,
Oh, I
Technical
couldn't
name.
pronounce his name.
what's the technical name?
He's a rheumatologist. Because my doctor thought I had rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
So I went over there and I sat down. He says, well, tell me how you're feeling. And he said, why did your doctor put you on the steroids and all this? And I started telling him what my symptoms was. He said, you ain't got RA. I said, okay, what do I got? He says, you got what's called polymyalgia rheumatica. He said, basically, that's a code name so that we can charge the insurance company. But he said, what it means is you've got inflation,
Inflammation.
inflammation
Mhm.
that is causing, response to try to, in other words, your body's fighting itself.
Yeah,
So I said, okay, so what we gotta do? So he said, well, first off, we gotta put you on steroids for a month, and then you go back and we try to wean you off of them and see what's a tolerable level, and then you gotta make lifestyle changes. Oh my
What's the lifestyle changes, sugar and simple carbs?
Let's look at that a minute.
All of them dried up? Here we go.
No, that's not showing up very well, is it? Well, anyway,
We can see it.
I looked up everything I could look up about it, and me and Jim and everybody's been talking about this stuff forever. Lifestyle changes is what they call it. But what do I call it? I call it biblical eating.
Eating well.
And what's the point, because I talked to my wife, I said, okay, well, we better be willing to do a lot of work then. So I went out and bought all kinds of organic heirloom seeds that has not been messed with by man. And hopefully we can get through a garden starting this year, because what are you going to eat? They've messed with everything here in the United States. Everything. And when I looked it up, the reason that they did it is because you cannot patent nature. But if you genetically modify
Change it
the
anyway.
DNA within nature, now it's yours and you can patent it. So now everything that comes from that seed belongs to whoever owns the patent. It doesn't matter if this farmer over here is planting the GMO seed, and this one over here is planting, organic heirloom seeds. If this pollen from this gets over here and pollinates that, now that belongs to him. You violated the patent. So it's another way of controlling it. But, the beef and everything else. So we used to kosher, well, we call it kosherring. But what it is you take kosher salt, put your meat in the sink, and you sprinkle it with the kosher salt, and you get all the impurities and everything out of it before you eat it. Well, we'd stopped that for a long time. Well, I'm going back to it. I bought organic meat that I know where it was raised at, and I'm going to make sure the impurities are out of it, because God says what? God says it starts with your gut.
Yeah,
What happened in the Garden of Eden?
Yep.
They
We've
ate
been
what
going
they were told
downhill
not
ever
to.
since. Yeah. Don't eat that. And they did anyway. So God kind of said to me, don't eat that. And if he doesn't say it, my wife says, don't eat that. So that's where I'm at right now. You know, I've heard you talking about it, and I guess that was, you know, sometimes God talks to us through other people and we don't really pay attention. I heard about the, you know, talking to you about the lifestyle changes and stuff that you guys have been making. Yeah, but it was just kind of going over my head, you know, because I wasn't there yet, I guess, but now I'm there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live off it because steroids will kill you after a while.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
Ask JFK.
yeah. Well, and the bad thing I found out about is researching it, it's everybody's on steroids. You know, if you got psoriasis, they put you on steroids. If you got hard time breathing, what do they call it? Not-
COPD.
Well, just for your
Asthma.
asthma, they put them on steroids.
Well, sure.
If you got COPD, they're putting you on steroids. You got high blood pressure, it don't matter. Whatever it is, they're putting you on
And then-
steroids.
They got a full-time job, they're gonna get more business because the side effects, and when they start coming
Yeah,
down after you take
yeah.
the medicine.
We've really become a commodity. You know? They get us out there raising this food, they sell it to us, we eat it, we get sick, and then they sell us medicine, and we get sick, and then some guy comes in and buries us, and
Have you read anything about this book out on depopulation?
no, I haven't read that.
It's a new
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
heard before. Have you
Yeah,
heard of
it's,
Tim Cullen?
You gotta be on the microphone.
No, I don't, because the
Oh, it's not up
computer's
yet.
not working.
Jim?
There's a guy named Peter Zion, and he's a geopolitical scientist.
Okay,
And basically what he's saying is the China's one-child laws come back and bit them.
Yeah.
And basically, their older people are the ones that are carrying society now because there are no young people. On top of that, in China, only males could own property. And as a result, a lot of couples were having daughters. They were killing them and having more children so that they could have a son and they could own property. As that is cut down, it's like the ratio of men to women is like, women to men is 2-to-1, or 2 men for every 1 woman.
Wow.
And it's happening here in the U.S. too, but we're the best of the worst. The millennials are less than the Generation Y. The Zoomers, they call them, 22 and under, less kids than ever before as far as a generation goes. So this guy is saying that China has about 10 years left. And that if we were to impose the same restrictions that we did on Russia, the same sanctions, 500 million people would die. They would de-industrialize, and 500 million people would die of starvation in the first year.
Oh, gracious.
This is how fragile it is.
The lady told me in February, when I was doing the home show out here, over the Highline cruise, the big ones that fly the big transmission line, that it's not a question of if, the question is when.
Right.
And if it goes down, it was February, and she told me they expected half of America to die.
Right.
It went down.
yeah, if they killed us all off already.
They're planning it according to this depopulation.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to control Revelation talks about it. 2/3 of the population is going to die.
1/3 at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, out of all of that, God slapped me in the face and said, hey, you need to rethink. Hebraic thought is rethinking, right? He said, I'm looking at things wrong. I look at things like what? We're called,
Do you need your mic for the? Do you need the mic for your computer over there?
no, I've got that on my directional one. Well, what is that word?
Humans.
Human beings, right? Okay, if we're taught we're human beings, and just think a minute, that's where your mindset goes. What does that do to you, to your thought process?
Well, it takes you from being a creation in the image of God.
And it makes you lust after the flesh.
Mhm.
You know, we may not look at it as lust because we have a real deep, but lust is desiring anything for your own personal sake.
Right.
Okay? It sets your mind into thinking, well, I need to eat 3 times a day. I got to do that. Got to get clothes. I got to buy a car. I got, you know. So that's where your mindset goes.
Mhm.
So God said, well, you know, it made me, because I told my wife, I said, this is what I have to do from now on. I have to realize the body goes back to the dust of the ground that it was created.
Right.
So it was just created for a purpose, right? So what I have to realize is that I'm a living soul,
Yes.
right? But instead of a human being, I need to change my mind and realize that I'm a spiritual being.
Yes.
This is what I need to be nurturing and growing,
Yeah.
is my spiritual being.
Yeah.
Because this is just a vessel that contains the spiritual being. The spiritual being does not die when we die. God's the only one that can destroy the spirit. So I need to concentrate, change my mind away from I'm a human being, which I've been taught in school, but I'm a spiritual being, and this is my.
House.
House.
Tent. Paul said tent.
That's good, but let's get real. If we're following God, this should be our temple, right? So I need to look at my body like it's a temple
Yeah.
that's housing my spiritual being.
Right.
Just from that little mindset,
Yeah.
just to change. You know, people don't realize, and I never realized how powerful words are. But if we're taught
Yeah.
a certain way to go, then that's where our mind constantly goes to. And that's what in Revelations and everywhere else, you know, Hebrews, it's talking about your conscious mind,
Right.
that you need to have a change in your conscious mind. So our conscious mind is conscious of this body. Well, we need to take care of this body, but we need to take care of the spiritual first, because I finally realized that if there's something going on in my body,
Mhm.
it's telling me there's something wrong in my spirit. And I need to heal my spirit, and then my spirit will heal my body. Because it's all one.
Yes.
It's all one thing. And when something goes wrong with your body, you really need to pay attention, because there's something wrong in your spiritual life. Something's not right. Because that's where you're going to grow from.
Yeah.
Not this.
Yeah.
So I was amazed to learn all of that. I thought, okay, thank you, God, for telling me that.
Amen.
Now, tell me how to accomplish that. So how do you accomplish that? Well, I finally figured out that learning the Hebrew as best as I can, because it is a spiritual language. And I can apply that spiritual language to my spiritual life, because if I get an understanding of that, then I'm getting an understanding of spirituality.
Yep.
And just like being a child, you go through different phases of growing up. You know, we talked about that a lot.
Okay, we're ready.
It's the same thing. Are you there? You gonna blow the shofar? Because it's the same thing with your spiritual being. Your spiritual being has to be nourished to grow.
Yes.
So if you're having problems with your body, like I am right now, pay attention to your body.
Yeah.
Find out where that chakra lines up with, and you'll figure out what is going on in your spiritual life that you need to work on.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now. And I love it. Are you going to blow the shofar, my brother?
Well, Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. I don't have no problem with keep talking. I can keep talking, boy. I'm excited about
I got a
this.
capture card there.
I'm starting my YouTube channel. That's what's going on right now. So I can start teaching from it wherever I go. It's called Above the Natural. If you look it up on YouTube, then that's what you got to look above the natural, because my point was to find some keywords that people could punch in, and find. And what the purpose of my site is uniting body and spirit, making them one.
Yeah.
It's called Above the Natural. I'm going to try to do a monthly broadcast, a weekly broadcast, all that. When I get together in a monthly broadcast, I want a bunch of people around so we can talk, have a conference. So anyway, that's that part. And I'm excited about this. And you know what I did too? I did the same thing tonight that I did when I was trying to tell you about who it was that actually started Hebrew again in Israel. I did not write down. Oh, there we go. It's Rabbi Golub, Golub, Mark S. Golub, Golub, and he's on Shalom TV. I don't know, you'd probably have to go on the internet to get Shalom TV now. It used to be on Direct TV, but I don't know if it is anymore or not. But I hadn't watched it in a long time, and I just happened to, I don't know why, sometimes stuff comes across in your email or whatever. I seen Shalom TV on there, so I clicked up, and there he was, and he was teaching this. So I'm going to base our Hebrew classes on this, because I think this man is excellent. This rabbi, I think Jeff Denham's dummies could even learn from this. So that's how good it is. Are you ready to blow the shofar, my brother?
I'm ready to sound it.
All right, he's ready to sound the shofar. Are you going to squeeze it or?
72 places, 64 verses, as Larry would say, we're commanded to blow the shofar or sound the shofar in times of trouble and for assembling of ourselves. And we do this in the name of the Lord. Unto thee, O Lord. Do you want to hold this for me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
He's on a hamburger diet right now, so it's got him all puckered up. Anyway, if you got the first page, it says from the Aleph Bet Lesson 1 Hebrew Letters. Now I'm going to tell you that these, some of these are a little bit different, because he really goes into the Sephardic and the different dialects, and he tells why. There's Ashkenazi and there's Sephardic dialects, and we'll get into that. But I'm just telling you that where you would normally look and we would see Tab, with the line that he's using, it's Tuf, T-U-F, is how they pronounce it. Okay, if you go to the other side, they pronounce it Tab. It's neither way is right or wrong. It's just, that's the way it is. But we're going to start, and I'm just going to use, you're going to have to be patient with me, because I'm not going to make the big fancy letters. We'll just see if you can understand what this is.
Shin.
There you go. And that's S-H-I-N, right? That letter is called Shin, right? And Shin, see, the big thing about this is that we have to look at the Hebrew letters and see what letter sound they make. Okay, like Aleph is silent, the Beit is like a B. Okay, Shin The letter sound that it makes is what? Shh. Right? Like a shh. Okay? Every Hebrew letter is a,
Number and a picture.
what's it called? Consonant. Right? So when you take a consonant letter and you put a vowel underneath it, that's what makes it a syllable. Okay? When you take a consonant letter and you put a vowel underneath it, now it becomes a syllable. We're going to learn our first vowel already. If you take this and you put that underneath it, that's a vowel. Have you got any idea what that vowel's called? Who said that? Wonderful. Patak. That's what that valve is called. It's called a patak. And it's under the letter. Under the letter. Okay? Now, what does it say in the Bible? It says, as above, so below, right? That's generally what we get from scriptures. As it is above, so it is below. Okay, now one thing that he showed about this that I loved is when you start pronouncing the Hebrew letter, you start from above, go below, and then you read from right to left. Okay, can everybody see that? Start from above, then you go below. Why is that important? Because does anybody know what sound this patak makes? Who said that? Oh. Makes it sound aw, like in father, right? Okay. So, if we were going to pronounce this syllable, what would it say?
Shahab.
Is that simple enough? Not difficult at all, is it? You start from the top of any Hebrew letter, any consonant, go down with that sound, because what are we looking at here? That's a sound, right?
Yep.
And then this makes it ah. So we go down and then right to left, and it's sha.
Then you go back, if there was more letters beside of that one, you
Well,
go
we're going
back
to go
to
into
the
that.
top.
Yeah, we're going to go into that.
Okay.
We're going to do nonsense letters to begin with. In other words, they're not real words.
Okay.
Okay, just to show you how this works.
Okay.
Okay? So, but that's simple, is it not? Okay, so let's try something else.
Let me copy that, just give me a minute.
Okay,
Take a picture of it. That's faster than copying it.
I mean, that's simple. Just remember, always start from the heavens and then go from the right to the left.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I kept looking at the one, I won't say what it is, but the one that I passed out, to begin with was very good. But I thought, how am I going to teach this where it makes any sense? all they're gonna do is end up hating me. Now, there's another Hebrew vowel that looks like that. Anybody have any idea what that's called?
Kamatz?
Kamatz. Oh, you're cheating.
I am.
All right. We'll let you. Okay, this just sounds like, just kamatz. It's good. Kamatz actually is just like the patak that we looked at. It makes the ah sound. So whether you see the patak or you see the kamatz, it's both an ah sound. As in what? Father. Okay? Man, we're doing good, aren't we? Now, I'm going to tell you that that's not the absolute rule, but the majority of the time, because, and we'll get into it later, you'll see why it does that, because there'll be other things, but sometimes it can make an aw sound with the W, not the aw like in father, but then, an AW type of sound. So it can be different. And why is that? Because we have two main dialects that are really, used, that are kind of competing with one another. And one is Ashkenazi. Okay, that is basically what the Orthodox Jews speak. Okay, Ashkenazi. It is really prevalent in the United States and Eastern and Central Europe. The basic dialect of Israel, and what we're going to be using in this class, is Sephardic. Neither one of them is any better than the other. It's just that one is kind of like a romantic type of language. So, the Orthodox, and then they stick more with it. It's just like Southern dialect and, Northern dialect. It's just, neither one of them's wrong. It's just one's a little bit different than the other. Might be pronounced a little bit different. And Sephardic is basically, it's what's spoken in Israel, and it's in Spain, Greece, and North Africa. That's the two dialects right there. And they differ very little. Okay? I'll show you the main differences as we go along learning this, but just remember that. That's the reason why some of it's different than what we see. Okay. So, if you would see Shin, and you would also see another Shin, but one had this underneath it, and this one had this underneath it. How would you pronounce that in the Ashkenazic? Remember, I told you there was just a slight difference. Okay, this one here would be This one here would be ah.
But only in Ashkenazi,
Only in the Ashkenazic.
okay?
Okay? So you're seeing this as in saw, and you're seeing this as in father. You know, not that much difference, but there is a slight difference in the same words that we would speak in Hebrew. Okay? Just, you know, you can't sit there and laugh at them and tell me, oh, you're saying it wrong. No. Okay? Just a slight difference. This is Sephardic, right? And this is Ashkenazi. Thank you, sir. My dentures was like,
That one.
did that work?
It did.
Okay, that's just a slight difference. And there's some words like that. And there's always some, you know, what do you want to say? The rule doesn't always apply to every instance. Okay? Because there's some Hebrew words that can actually double as vowels.
What's the spelling, not the Ashkenazi, but the other word, what's correct?
Sephardic,
Yes.
Sephardic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we're going to look at something else here. I know I may seem like I'm moving a little bit fast. Well, let's do something else here. Let's do this. Let's see. Say, no, I'm not going to do that yet because I'll get you confused. I'll stick with the lesson plan. Now, that's lesson 1. Pretty simple, right? Top to bottom, left to right. Those are your first 2 vowels. Both of them make the ah sound. Unless you're Ashkenazi, and then one of them makes the ah sound. Okay. Now you're going to learn something that I really want you to pay attention to, because if we learn this and get it in our mindset really good, we're going to at least be able to pronounce 85 to 90% of every Hebrew word we could ever come across. Just by this one little thing that's never taught in Hebrew classes. This is the only guy I've ever seen that taught it. And when he taught it, I thought, oh my God, I'd be 50 years ahead right now if I'd have known that a long time ago. The second letter that we're going to learn, because this is the last 2 letters that we're learning. The sheen, what comes after that? We know it as Tav, but remember he's doing Sephardic, right? And Sephardic is what? Tough. So don't get confused. It's like I said, neither one of them is right or wrong. It's just that's what it is. Okay, so when we look at, see if I can do this right. This, what letter is that then?
Top.
Tav, right? Okay. Now, you have to realize that Hebrew is accented on the last syllable generally. You know what I'm saying? Like if you've seen a sheen, then it would be sheen. You accent it on the last syllable that you say. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a bait. If it was a sheen bait, you'd say sheen bait. It's accented on the last syllable that you say. Now, there's a secret key to be able to read any Hebrew word, no matter how complicated. It's all these two dots. These two dots is called a schwa. You know, you pronounce it, when you're saying it, you say it like, you know, schwa. I mean, I know it looks like Shiva, but it's schwa. Why? Because this can also be pronounced as, you know, vav in ancient Hebrew was a wab. And it's just two dots like that. Just two little dots. So let me explain the schwa to you. Hebrew vowels are dots and dashes. There's one exception, and that's the schwa. That is not a vowel. It is never a vowel. Okay? It's not a vowel. So if it's not a vowel, and it's never counted as a vowel, the schwa even makes no sound at all. It's silent. It doesn't make any sound other than there's just one exception, and we'll learn that later on, but you just need to keep this in mind. Sometimes this can make the letter I. As in the word fish. Okay? But that's an exception to the rule. The rule is generally it's not a vowel, it doesn't make any sound. So, what's its purpose? You got this? Everybody done with that? Okay. Because the rule in Hebrew is every Hebrew letter must either have a vowel or a shava. Every Hebrew letter has to have a vowel or schwa. And this is the key to being able to pronounce any Hebrew word. I keep trying to say it because I want to build on this. I want to build on it because if you learn this, man, we're more than halfway there. The silent schwa. If you see a silent schwa under a Hebrew letter, it means you simply pronounce the sound of the letter as if it was all alone. Does that make any sense? You know how before you saw ah, so you had to add ah to sheen. Well, if you see sheen with this down there, how do you pronounce it? Shh. That's it, right? Nothing else underneath it. It's just the letter that's above it. Okay? Everybody's got that so far, right? That's plain as mud. Because we're going to go through some double things and we're going to learn how that applies. But the sheen makes a sh sound, right? If sheen would have a silent schwa under it, it would still simply make a sh sound. Okay? Nothing else. That's it. The silent schwa ends a syllable. Does that make any sense at all? Not yet? Every Hebrew syllable with a vowel under it or over it, because dots can go over the vowels too, with a silent schwa under it is added to the Hebrew letter and vowel before it in front of it. Does it make any sense?
No,
Okay.
say that again.
So if we have a sheen here, right? And we have the vowel here for ah, right? We've got what?
Shaw.
And you notice I'm writing these in two parts to show you that it's two parts. Because we go from this to this. But if we had another sheen down here, and we have this underneath it, now what's happened? Remember, we're going up, down, this stops it, right?
Right.
So we're going up here. And what is that?
Yeah. Shashi.
See? Sha, she, shash. Because this has to be added to that.
Okay.
I mean, that's a nonsense word. There's no
Right.
Hebrew word like that, but that's just showing you that whatever comes next, this goes with that
Yes.
to complete that word. Okay? So it ends, right? It ends a syllable by one additional letter. Any questions so far? We doing good? Clear as mud, boring as. But if you get this, we're going to be 90% ahead. This amazed me because I can look at any word, even multiple letters in the Tanakh after that. I said, oh, I know what that is. After years of trying to figure some of them words out, by breaking them down by each individual letter, I realized, no, what they're showing you is what?
Sentence. Structure.
Only they're showing you Hebrew word structure. You're breaking it down into sections and then you're sounding it out, and here's the word. Remarkable. Unbelievable. So that's what we're basically doing. We're looking at Hebrew letter structure. Okay, because the second shah has a silent schwa under it, the second shah is added to the shin with a vowel that precedes it to become part of the same one syllable. I'm going to repeat a lot of this stuff over and over again to make sure we get this. The syllable, an open syllable, ends with a vowel sound. Shah. If a syllable ends with a consonant, it is called a closed syllable. Okay, if it ends with a consonant, the technical term for it is it's a closed syllable. Okay? And the only way a syllable can end with a consonant sound is if it is over a silent schwa. That's the only way you can do that. So we're going to make up a word. And then you can tell me what it means, how to pronounce it. Okay, here we go. Let me get it right. I'm just gonna do this with a dot on it like that, you'll know what it is. And then how would you pronounce that word? First off, how many vowels does it have?
Two.
Two, right? So if it has two vowels, how many consonants does it have?
One.
Well, all the same one. Okay.
Remember, to be a syllable, a full syllable, or did I say that right? Or I'm sorry, that's why I threw you off. A consonant, how many syllables does it have, silly? I knew there was something wrong there. Two, right?
Two.
Yes.
Well, why is it two syllables?
Because the two little dots.
That's right, it's gotta have vowels underneath it, right? Otherwise, it's a consonant, right? To make a consonant a syllable, it has to have a vowel point underneath it, or on top of it, whatever, right? So, with the dots here, how would you divide that up?
Shashi. Yeah,
Right?
the dots in.
This is the first part of it, right? So what's the first part of it?
Shaw. AW.
Why?
No, just.
Shasha. Shasha. Shasha.
Right? Shush. Because we got sheen and aw, remember? And then this has to go up here to, so it's shush. This is the first part. Now, what did you say the last part was?
Yeah, same thing.
Right. So what's our Hebrew word? I mean, it's not really a Hebrew word, but you see what's going
Hold
on
that mic
here?
up a little further, dude.
I'm sorry.
There you go. You're good now.
So do you see what we did? This is basically word structure when we took it down here. Why? Because this is the ending for that. It ends that. So we have to combine that with this, and we get shasha. Wow. Is that clear as mud? Because we're going to hang on this for a minute. Is anybody ready to take a nap yet? Okay. What do we have if we have? I know it's getting worse as I go, right? Larry's here. I'd be having him do this. Okay, we got this, and we've got it like, and where would the line go if we're dividing this up so we can figure it out?
Between the two. Yep.
Okay, so what would this be?
Same thing. Shaw.
Shush, shush. Okay, Now I'm gonna throw something into the ringer here a minute. What would this be?
Shush.
That's wonderful. It's the same. Why is it the same?
It's a consonant without a vowel.
Do you hear what she said? It's a consonant without a vowel. If this is not, if this schwa is not at the end of a word under a letter, it's implied. Because what's the rule? Every consonant has to have a vowel or a schwa under it. So if it doesn't have a vowel under it, then it automatically has a schwa under it. Okay, if it's at the end of the word, every Hebrew letter has to have a vowel. Okay? If it doesn't, it's got a schwa, whether it's implied or it's there. And if it's, if they do a word and at the end of the word it doesn't have it there, it's implied. Okay? Clear as a muzzle. And usually about 4 of these is all you're going to get. I don't care how long a Hebrew word is, it's really stressing. It's like I say, it's not the absolute rule, but usually they don't carry vowels and everything out past 4 because of the 3-letter root. Okay? Now, remember, every Hebrew letter must have either a vowel or a schwa. So, what about the last shin in that word? What did we say? It's implied, right? Because it's a consonant. Doesn't have a vowel under it. But it's implied that there's a schwa. So it goes with the next letter to it. It comes before it, not afterwards, before it. Okay? So we got that, right? Every letter that doesn't have that has to have a schwa. It's got to have a schwa. Okay, let's add some Hebrew letters. Let's do that. How about that? Okay? That sound okay? Yeah. Let's see if we're going to do this. So we did the sheen. Let's put sheen and what's this one?
Tough.
We know it as a ta, but
It's tough.
they're using Sephardic, so it's what? Right?
Tough.
Okay. Now, what is it? What is this? What's that called? Right. Does that change the sound of the letter? No. Now, there's always an exception to the rule, but no. Right? What sound does this make in English? What would be the sound it make? T, right? Ashkenazi Hebrew without the dagesh, the tough is called a suf. Now, you like that? Ashkenazi, this is without a dagesh. It's called I'm telling you this why? Because you might see the word talit, which we know is talit. They don't call it talit. They call it talis. Okay? We know that a brick, which you have in every Hebrew child, whenever they pass, you have a what?
Bar mitzvah.
Okay, good. Bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. It's not called a bar mitzvah in them. It's called a bat mitzvah because there's Sephardic is just a little bit different, right? Okay. They would call it instead of a brit. Does everybody know what a brit is? On the 8th day of a male child, when he's circumcised, yes, what's called a brit. They call it a bris, B-R-I-S. You know, it's just little differences like that that you'll be noticing, but it's nothing that changes the meaning of the word. Okay? So, you know, when you see it's called a suf, the other one's called a tuf, well, we call it a tav, but don't get confused. It's all the same thing. You know, it all is a T unless it doesn't have the dagesh in it, and then they pronounce it with an S. Don't get all hung up on that because as we go more and more, we'll see the differences in how to use it. Because we'll look and see, okay, there's no dagesh in there, so it's suf. You'll automatically know. You won't know right now, but you'll automatically know. Because your brain will say, it's not there. There's no little ball in there. Ashkenazi Hebrew without the dagesh, the tup is called a suf and is pronounced S like a hissing sound. Ooh, a hissing sound. Like the English letter S, and so for example, in Ashkenazi Hebrew, the ceremony for an 8-day boy is called a bris, which means covenant, because the word ends with a tuf without a dagesh, and in Ashkenazi Hebrew, a tuf without a dagesh is pronounced as an S sound, whereas in Sephardic Hebrew, the ceremony is called a brit. The tav without a dagesh is pronounced T. Okay, so now we're ready for this. What time is it?
It is 8:08.
Is it 8 already? Well, we're late, aren't we? Well, I can go through building all these ridiculous words if you want to. Or do you want to learn how to do your first Hebrew word? Because all I'm going to do is show you one sheen after the other and build on it. But do you have the basic idea of even how to divide a word and come up with what it is, no matter if it's bait or whatever? You start from the top, right? Go down to the bottom with that sound of that letter, and then you add the ah or the ah on it and combine it to make the words. Is that okay? You want me to go into more because it's 8 o'clock already?
Whatever you want.
What do you guys want?
What's the word?
Okay, we're going to learn the first Hebrew word. And it starts with bait, right? And bait looks like what? It's a crazy little thing called bait. Okay, is that right?
Give it a dot.
Ah, there you go. Got to have the dot in there, doesn't it?
Have it dot.
If it doesn't have the dot in it, it's a what?
Big, yeah.
So this makes the B sound, this makes the V sound if it doesn't have the dot in it.
Right.
Okay? Has to have the dot in it to make a bait. Okay, we learned the last two letters of the Hebrew alphabet, which was tuf and shin. They're both consonants. To make them syllables, you have to put vowels underneath them, right? Then you go from top to bottom, right to left to pronounce the word. Is that good? We learned the first two vowels, which are called, vowels are dots and dashes. The first two that we learned was a kamatz. This looks like a line with a little dot in the middle of it, right? And a patak, which just looks like a line. But they both make the sound what? Ah, as in father. Okay, now I'm going to teach you this word. And don't forget, I'm going to tell you again. Every Hebrew syllable has one vowel, never more than one vowel, and never less than one vowel. There is always a one-to-one correlation of vowels to the syllables in Hebrew. Okay? So if you're looking down through there, if you see one vowel, you know that there's what? One syllable. You see two vowels, you know there's two syllables. You see three, you know that there's three syllables, right? Okay. And a dagesh is what?
The dot in the middle.
Just a little dot, right? Doesn't change the sound of it at all. All right? Now, here we go. This first letter, I want to take this off there because what we're working on is the bot. The bot, or I'll make a bet with you, or whatever you say. But what we're working on is with that. Here's one of our first letters was, and that's what?
Shin.
Shin, which makes the sh. Right? Okay. And now the next letter is they, which makes the
But.
okay. And the last letter is
Ta or ta.
well, we're going to say ta,
Okay.
which makes the
Ta.
T sound, right? So now if I take those letters and I set them up like this, and I set it up like this, and I don't do anything to the last letter, she's got it already, but let's break it down real slow. Where would I put the line at?
The first syllable is shaw.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Where did I put the line at? So I'm dividing the word to pronounce it. Just work it out in your mind.
Between the Shaw and the bait.
Good.
Shaw.
And why am I doing that?
Once.
Because the two dots down here are implied, right?
Oh, okay. And one so one.
Okay, so
vowel.
this is one, this is one. Right? So we're going from here to here. What do we have?
Shaw.
And then what do we have here? B.
A. H.
T.
So we have
Shabbat.
Shabbat. That's your first Hebrew word. And you figured it out. Wasn't that tough? Doesn't it make things a lot easier by knowing those two little dots? And that you can divide a word up and go, Shabbat. Oh my Lord. You know, it doesn't matter how difficult the word is. If you look for those two little dots and the vowels that are underneath it, you can break a word up and sound it out. Isn't that a lot easier than what
Where the
we've
word
done?
ends to.
I'm sorry, what?
And it tells you where the word ends to, so you're not running
Right.
syllables over.
You gotta repeat what she said.
It tells you where the word ends too. Yep, it does. So the reason that I did Shabbat is because Shabbat is, whether anybody wants to admit it in Hebrew or not, is the centrality of all Hebrew. It's the centrality of the whole scriptures, Old and New Testament. everything is culminating to Shabbat. It's the most important thing that we can learn at all in Scripture. Shabbat, what it is, what it means. What does the word Shabbat really mean in Hebrew?
Day of rest.
Right? And what else is implied in there in those letters? Day or appointment? Right? So we put it together as a day of rest. Or refreshing. You know what it literally means? It literally means breathing. Literally the constantly, because if you quit breathing, what's going to happen?
You gonna die.
Right, you're going to die, David.
Turn to dust.
And as long as you breathe, you're refreshing your soul. You have to breathe. But what are you resting from? I want to ask you that question real quick and then I'll shut up.
Everything.
But what did God
6
do?
days of work.
Right, 6 days of work, right? 6 days of what type of work? What did God do?
Created.
Creation.
He took chaos and made order out of it because the world was void and formless. And chaos was upon the face of the deep. And he took that chaos and made it into order, or the word that we use is cosmos. For God so loved the cosmos that he gave his only begotten Son. He didn't love the disorder or the chaos. He loved the order. So if we're co-creators with God, remember, we're co-creators. That's why I said you're not a human being. You're a living soul in a human body. Really, our job was supposed to be to make order out of chaos with God, was to be co-creators with him. And then on the seventh day, we were going to rest and be refreshed. Just like taking in air every time you breathe. And how many times do you breathe, by a matter of fact? Does anybody know? Well, what do they say that the average is?
20, 30?
12 to 20 times a minute, right? Look up and see if there's any significance to 12 and 20 in the Hebrew. That'll just be something for you to do whenever you're at home diddling around. Look up 12 and 20, the letters 12 and the 20th letter, and look them up and see, well, do they have any significance? Because it's 12 and 20 every 60 seconds. 12, 20, 60. Look it up. See if there's any. If it just doesn't tell you something, or if it's by accident.
Yeah.
Is that why your heart's supposed to beat 60 to 80 times a minute? Maybe that's an accident too. Wow. Or maybe it's not an accident. What do you think?
I try not to.
You try not to think. So is this better? Is this lunging you forward a lot? I really liked it. I really did, because I could just open up my Tanakh and I could look at a word. What I was doing is I'm printing them out, and you probably see that you got practice sheets. Just go through and practice on the sheets, and I would go. He doesn't show you on the sheets about dividing the word, but I would look and see how the word's divided, because that makes it even that much easier. But to me, I just printed some stuff out that I've been trying to figure out for a long time exactly what it said. Because you know yourself, when somebody else translates it, it's up to their discretion. if you can translate the word yourself and you look at 3 or 4 times where it's broke down there and say, oh, okay, this is the 3-letter base word. This is, I know what that means. You know, just like bot is female, you know, daughter. Yeah, oh yeah, daughter of the house you're looking at. Wow. And it was amazing. It was easy. It was really easy. Instead of trying to sit there and just learn how to pronounce the word, I was looking at the word, pronouncing it, and I knew what it was. I said, man, I'm not as stupid as I thought I was. Not bad at all, huh? So I really hope this helps because, you know, there's only like 2 or 3 of them in there that has 3 lessons in one. But if we take this and we realize that the 2 dots are what? Schwa.
Schwab.
And that a schwa has no sound, is silent, and it
Ends
ends
a
a syllable. Then it's going to make things like just go home, try to practice some of this, and you can take it out of Tanakh or whatever and look at it, and you're going to be amazed. It's just going to amaze you. Just what? As it is above, so below. Above, down, right, left. Easy. And then later on, there's other stuff that's 15% or 10%. Might take us a little bit more to get through it, but it's going to be a lot easier because that'll be the difficult stuff that we have to handle. Right? Any questions? Any answers?
When there's an I underneath it, though, it's not silent.
Right. But then you're going to learn the rule when that is because it's very uncommon. It's not something you have to sweat. You just got to be aware that when you see it, you know that it's an I. Like in what?
Fish.
Fish. Man, I love this group. You know, you guys, bam! I thought this was going to be difficult for a minute there, and every time I saw,
Well, that's Shabbat.
easy peasy, right? Yeah, and look at even on there, you can see the vowel points and everything right there.
Yep. And
We'll
what's-
learn what each one goes for.
what's
What's that
the-
right there?
That's Schwab.
See, she's already sitting there figuring it out. And there's no 2 dots at the end of that, so what does that mean?
It's a given.
It's implied, right?
Implied, yeah.
So that goes with that, right?
Yep.
And see, he's even got it split up here for you, but you know,
Yeah.
normally it wouldn't be that way. Yeah. So I'm having fun now with vowels.
Wow.
This dot above, that's a valve above it.
What's that?
This dot here is
Yeah,
that
it's
a
either
valve?
above or it's below.
Okay, so
Yep.
you would start with the vowel sound, then go to the consonant sound.
Well, we're gonna get into that. Don't get too don't get confused. Let's just stick with this right
Okay.
now with the patak and you know and the sva and
Okay.
and we'll be suave. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope that we have a wonderful experience, and then after I go to the doctor, he doesn't slap me down again. But whatever, I'm going to learn. And like I said, we need to change the mindset. We need to quit thinking that we're human beings and realize that we're spiritual beings in a
Yes.
physical body, and that makes us a soul. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to reverse my thinking. I hope you reverse your thinking too, and let's build a house on it. What do you say?
Yep.
Amen.
Sounds good.
You want to? Can you come up here and end us with a prayer, please, sir? I miss this guy, believe it or not.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say how happy we are that Rabbi Bell and Jim is with us tonight. We're
Yes.
looking forward to the next time when Pastor Larry comes.
Yes.
Yes.
Our Heavenly Father, we are so thankful. We're thankful for these men that have this burden, are patient and teaching us. We thank you for the opportunity, Lord, to learn more about you and apply it in our lives. Give them a safe journey home. Bless this assembly tonight, we pray. In the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Are we off the air? We are off the air. Now let me get this thing shut off. See if I can successfully do that. Let's see. Do I have to go to where it says end stream? Oh, it worked. Your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. End.